Alright guys, so first video review. We have a match by Scott McNees, one of our blue belts. It's one of his most recent matches. So we're going to be kind of watching this. I'll kind of break down some of the things that are going on, some ideas, and then when I see a few things, I'll show a couple videos to help highlight what we could have done differently, or maybe to just show a couple quick techniques. So first time doing this, let's see how it goes, and let me know what you guys think. All right, so like all matches, this of course is starting on their feet. They're doing some hand fighting, some grip fighting, and Scott ends up going for a lazy man's flying armbar. But if we look at his arm placement, watch his left arm. So with the left arm, we're going to grab at the sleeve, and he misses this. He doesn't end up getting great position, mostly because he doesn't pull on the sleeve very efficiently. So let's watch one more time. All right, so there, his left arm is still tight to his body. His left elbow is low at the hip. And one of the things that we stress when we teach this technique is the left elbow, or whichever elbow is grabbing the sleeve. In order to get a really strong pull, you want to lift that up kind of over your head. And so we're recording this in slow motion so you can kind of see. Look how my elbow is pointed up. It's away from my body. And I kind of continue that and maintain that all the way through. That's the best way to get a good strong pull. And in order to finish that efficiently, you really need to extend that arm and get a good strong pull. So one more time, Scott's elbow is close to his body. If he would have pulled it, it would have extended that arm more, and it would have helped him to actually get up there. So Scott does a good job of keeping the closed guard. He's working for positions, going for a little bump sweep there. So since Scott pulled guard, there's no points awarded. You only lose points if the other person initiates and gets a takedown. And doing a good job fighting. Scott's really good at an arm drag. There he goes for another arm bar, gets his hips up, really close to finishing it. Does a beautiful transition to omoplata. Controls the hips. And since he was in guard, that's 2 points for getting a sweep. Now from here, watch Scott's legs during this half guard. You see how his knees are not applying a lot of pressure. All the weight is back. He's really low on his opponent. What that does is it allows his opponent to work, and he's just kind of sitting on the leg, but he's not really using his feet very well in order to try to pass. And so his opponent is slipping back and is able to use his leg and both hands in order to regain a full guard. So a couple of the important things that we want to do is not just to kind of sit back on the legs, because it allows the upper body of our opponent to be free and move around. But then also, one thing that Scott doesn't do a great job in this part right here is using his entire body. So he's focusing just on his upper body. He's not using his legs very well. So this is kind of exemplified. If we just kind of sit, it's easy for our opponent to scooch, get their legs free, and then they can kind of regain a guard of some sort. So there's two things that we can do with our lower body in order to help us pass. And just two very simple, easy examples. Number one, we don't want to just sit on the legs. We want to try to pressure forward a little bit in order to keep some weight and some pressure on our opponent. And then the first thing you can do is with your outside foot, so the one that's kind of not trapped by your opponent. If you're able to, you can plant the top of your heel or the top of your ankle on top of their knee, and that works as a great brace, especially if you're leaning forward, to help free your other leg and pass your opponent's guard. So block, pressure forward, and then get a good clear of that outside leg, and now you've passed, and that scores a lot of points for you. If you're having a hard time, you're not very flexible, you're finding it difficult to get that outside foot, then you can use your inside foot to block and basically you're doing the same thing. So this is if that leg that's trapped between yours is just kind of straight, then it's a lot easier for your inside foot or your trapped foot to kind of cover it, and then it's a little smoother to just kind of slide out. And either one of those will allow you to pass the guard there. All right, so far Scott's up by 2 points because he got a sweep. Now he's up into spider guard. So one thing that Scott kind of goofed on, you can see both of his sleeves are trapped by his opponent. That's always a no-no. And now he's having a hard time clearing those legs. His opponent's doing a good job of playing spider guard. So one of the things that we can do, we don't just want to sit there. Scott's kind of trying to knee slide pass, but it's hard to use the knee when both of our hands are stuck and we're kind of fighting our body. What we really have to do is clear those legs. And if we don't clear those legs, none of our passes are going to really be able to do much. So we have to get rid of that spider guard he's got. His opponent makes a mistake in going for a sweep, and in doing so allows Scott to completely regain his guard. Let's take a look at a couple of passes we can do. Slightly out of order, but that's okay. We'll skip a little bit. All right, so first, you can just kind of grab onto both of the knees using the gi, and then give a nice hard pull downwards and in towards your legs. And that helps pull them off of their back and gets their feet towards the ground. As you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're pinching their knees towards each other. So it's not just a straight pull back, but the knees need to be pinched. Let's see if we can see that in a little bit slower motion here. So fighting, the knees get pinched in and down in between my legs. Then once they're here, you put a lot of pressure down towards the mat so they can't lift their legs back up, and it's easy then to just kind of circle around and pass. One more time in a slower motion. Knees together, snap down as you step back, then push down heavy on their legs so they can't regain, and then we can circle, pressure down in order to pass their guard. Now, sometimes that can be really difficult to do. They're doing a good job pulling you, and they're not allowing you to push down. And when that happens, then I'll show you guys in a later video how we can clear that using one of our knees to help remove that leg. All right, so Scott's still in the guard. He's still up by 2 points right now. It's still 2-0. So ideally, from here, what he wants to do is pass the guard. All right, so he wants to clear those legs in order to pass the guard and get 3 points. Again, he's just kind of sitting on his partner's knees, and he's not really using his legs very well. Now here, this is one of my favorite things. Here, you can see one of his opponent's legs is free. The other one of his opponent's legs has the foot trapped in between. Right? So his foot is kind of underneath his crotch here. All right, so this can be tricky. This isn't a position we just want to hang out in. And we see Scott really low. That's going to make it easy for his opponent to work and try to set up a few submissions, a couple chokes. I'm going to show you guys in our next video a couple chokes that we can do on bottom for that position. So if we're here, we don't want to just sit here and wait. And you can see as he sat and waited, now his opponent's starting to improve his position. So the last little technique part for this video, whenever our opponent's here with that foot stuck, you can see the foot kind of stuck in between there. This is one of my all-time favorite passes, and one of the things that I look for, and I'll try to force an opponent to put their foot there because I'm so confident in this pass. I have a very high pass rate with this. It's one of my all-time favorites. If that foot is trapped, what we're going to do is we're going to take our other leg, pull it back almost like a donkey kick, and then we're going to slide it right along our leg. And what that does is it takes their foot from being trapped in the middle to being trapped on the outside. So when we're done, both of their feet are going to be on the same side. Up, slide it through. Now, once that foot's trapped on the far side, then we can take our hand and reach all the way down and around, and we're going to cup the toes, and we're going to grab onto the foot that way. What that does is that helps prevent that foot from getting slidden out and going past us. And then all we're going to do is pinch their knee with ours as we basically heavy pressure rotate around in order to pass the guard. Now outside foot comes through, we pinch, inside foot comes through, and now I've completely cleared. Bring the lower knee tight to the hips so you can't regain guard, and then that's how we completely pass. One of, again, my all-time favorites. If we ever roll, you can almost guarantee I'm going to try to get that at least once. So again, right now Scott's up by 2 points. He's pinched the knees, beautiful start, but he gets a little sloppy here. He's trying to force the mount position. Now this can be really dangerous. Right here, look, his opponent has one foot stuck underneath. Scott doesn't have the best of balance, and if his opponent was a little bit better, he would have been able to threaten a couple of sweeps. So right now, Scott's up by 2 points. If his opponent gets a sweep, then it ties it up, and that puts Scott in a pretty tough spot. What I would have done there instead, I would have liked to see Scott, instead of trying to rush and try to force getting to mount, which if he gets is nice. That's 3 points for passing, 4 points for mount. But he's up on points, and it's going to be a big risk for him, and it's going to put him in a position where he might throw away a match where he was ahead. So what I would have liked to see him do is instead go for a more controlled pass, one with a lot more safety and a higher percentage, where even if he botches it, his chances of getting swept are low. Whereas trying to force a big move like this, he has a very high chance of getting swept. And especially when you're up by points, it's not worth the risk. If there were 20, 30 seconds and he was down by 4 points, hey, go for it. That's the time to do it. Not here where you're up and not really being threatened so far. So again, up by points, tries to force it and almost puts himself in a position to get swept. So definitely want to think about where we're at and where we're trying to go and what's worth it. And if we don't need big moves, then it's usually, in my opinion, much better to stick with kind of a nice, safer thing. He does end up getting it, so it did work out for him. But definitely one of those things, he's lucky his opponent wasn't better. If his opponent was a little bit more slick, he definitely could have been in trouble. All right, so right now Scott's up 9-0, has full mount, and he's doing a good job of basing, keeping his knees kind of wide to allow for some support while he's focusing on the upper body looking for chokes. This can be a little bit dangerous because whenever our knees are away from the body, see right there, whenever our knees are away from the body, it gives our opponent a chance to start working through them. So typically from mount, I like to keep my knees a lot closer, but Scott does a beautiful job of transitioning to a triangle choke. And since he was in mount, his opponent doesn't get any points from that. Now Scott's on the wrong side and has a bad angle for that, but again, he transitions to omoplata. Beautiful transitions throughout this entire video, Scott. Transitions to an omoplata from the triangle. So he is chain attacking these submissions, not giving his opponent a chance to regain his composure and kind of be thoughtful about what he's doing. He's forcing his opponent to rush and get sloppy. All right, and that's the end of the match with Scott being victorious, 9-0. Excellent match. All right, so that's our first video review. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you want to see more of these or if these look nice, which I guess would be the same thing. Or let me know if there's something about these that you want to see a little bit different. I'll have one more of these that's showing Hooney's very first match. Hooney's an amazing purple belt out in Utah with Jeremy Horn. But he, one of my all-time favorite students, very high-level martial artist, very, very slick, and rolling with him is like rolling with Angry octopus. So I look forward to that video, and I will talk to you guys later.